Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that your entire life has been dictated by the expectations, opinions, and judgments of others. Every decision you've made, every path you've taken, shaped not by your own desires, but by the fear of what others might think. How much of your life has truly been your own? Today we're going to embark on a journey to uncover the powerful truth about living authentically and free from the shackles of external validation. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how to break free from the chains of others' opinions, but you'll also discover the ultimate key to living a life that is genuinely yours. The last insight we'll share is the most transformative of all, so make sure you stay with us until the very end. Let's dive deep into this universal struggle, one that affects everyone at some point: the need to be liked, accepted, and validated by others. While this need might feel natural, when unchecked, it can quietly take over our lives, robbing us of joy, authenticity, and even our purpose. Today, we'll draw on timeless wisdom from philosophers, psychologists, and thought leaders to help you navigate this challenge and reclaim your personal freedom. Think about this. How often do you stop yourself from saying or doing something out of fear that someone might criticize or disapprove of you? Maybe it's hesitating to wear the outfit you love because you're worried it's too much, or holding back on sharing an idea at work because you're afraid someone will think it's foolish. These little moments add up, and before you know it, you've built a life designed not by your dreams, but by a silent fear of judgment. But where does this fear come from? The answer lies deep in our psychology. Psychologist Abraham Maslow, famous for his hierarchy of needs, argued that humans have an innate desire to belong. We crave connection and community. And while this need for acceptance can be a beautiful thing, driving us to create bonds and foster relationships, it can also become a prison. When the desire to belong turns into an obsession with approval, we sacrifice who we are for the sake of fitting in. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus put it bluntly: "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." His words might feel harsh, but they hold a profound truth. Growth, freedom, and authenticity often require us to let go of the need to be liked. If you're constantly trying to shape yourself to meet others' expectations, you'll never find the space to become who you truly are. Now let me ask you this: whose opinions are you living for? Is it your family, your friends, your colleagues, or maybe even strangers on social media? The reality is, no matter how much you try to please everyone, someone will always find fault with you. Why? Because people view the world and you through the lens of their own experiences, insecurities, and biases. In other words, their judgments often say more about them than they do about you. Consider the story of Vincent van Gogh. During his lifetime, he was ridiculed, dismissed, and deemed a failure. He sold only one painting while he was alive, and his work was mocked by critics. But Van Gogh didn't stop creating. He didn't let the opinions of others silence his passion. Today, his paintings are celebrated as masterpieces, admired by millions. What if he had abandoned his art because of others' disapproval? The lesson here is clear. True fulfillment comes from living in alignment with your values and passions, not from meeting others' expectations. Yet, many of us struggle to make this shift because we've been conditioned from a young age to seek approval. Parents, teachers, and society often reward conformity and discourage individuality. Over time, this conditioning teaches us to prioritize external validation over our inner voice. But here's the truth: no one else is living your life. No one else will feel the regret of unfulfilled dreams, the sting of compromises made out of fear, or the emptiness of a life lived for others. Only you will. So, why give others the power to dictate your happiness? Breaking free from this mindset requires two key shifts. First, you must become aware of when and why you seek validation. Start paying attention to those moments when you hesitate, when you feel the pull to conform, or when you change your behavior to avoid criticism. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it's what I want, or because it's what I think others expect of me? Second, you must build the courage to embrace your authenticity, even if it means disappointing others. This doesn't mean disregarding the feelings of those you care about or acting recklessly. It means making decisions that align with your values and desires, even when it feels uncomfortable. Psychologist Carl Rogers believed that living authentically was the key to true self-fulfillment. He wrote, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. By accepting who you are and letting go of the need for approval, you create space for growth and transformation. But here's the challenge. This journey isn't always easy. People might resist when you start prioritizing your needs over their expectations. You might face criticism, rejection, or even ridicule. In those moments, it's crucial to remind yourself of this. The people who truly matter, the ones who love and respect you, will support your authenticity even if they don't always agree with your choices. And here's the beauty of it all. When you live authentically, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage becomes a beacon, encouraging those around you to break free from their own fears and live their truth. Now, take a moment to reflect. What would your life look like if you stopped worrying about what others think? What decisions would you make differently? What dreams would you pursue? This is just the beginning of our journey into understanding how to break free from the opinions of others and live a life that is truly your own. In the next part, we'll explore practical steps to silence the inner critic and reclaim your personal power. For now, consider this. Your life is a gift, and you deserve to live it fully and authentically. What would you do if no one was watching? Let's continue this journey of understanding how to reclaim your life from the grip of other people's opinions. In this next part, we'll dive deeper into practical strategies and reflections that will help you stop being a prisoner of judgment and start living authentically. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest. The path ahead is unclear, and every step forward feels uncertain. Behind you, voices call out, warning you to stay back, to avoid the risks, to stick to what's familiar and safe. Those voices represent the opinions and judgments of others, trying to hold you in place. But here's the thing. The forest ahead, that's your life, your dreams, your potential. To move forward, you must learn to tune out the noise and trust your own instincts. One of the most common traps that keeps us stuck in the cycle of seeking approval is overthinking. How often do you replay a conversation in your head, dissecting every word, wondering if you said the wrong thing? Or maybe you scroll through social media, comparing yourself to others, feeling inadequate because their lives seem more polished, more successful, more perfect. This mental spiral is exhausting, and it steals your energy, your peace, and your confidence. So how do you break free? It starts with a shift in perspective. The renowned psychologist William James once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." In other words, while you can't control what others think or say about you, you can control how much power you give those thoughts. Here's a powerful exercise to try. The next time you catch yourself worrying about someone else's opinion, pause and ask yourself, does this opinion truly matter in the grand scheme of my life? Most of the time, the answer will be no. A fleeting judgment from a stranger, a passing comment from a colleague, or even a moment of disapproval from a loved one will not define your life unless you let it. But let's take this a step further. Ask yourself, will this matter a year from now, 5 years, 10? Often we give disproportionate weight to opinions that are irrelevant in the long term. By shifting your focus to the bigger picture, you can begin to detach from the immediate pressure of seeking approval. Another important step is learning to embrace vulnerability. Living authentically means exposing yourself to the possibility of rejection, criticism, or misunderstanding. And yes, that can be terrifying. But consider this. Some of the greatest figures in history, those who changed the world, were once ridiculed or dismissed for their ideas. Galileo was labeled a heretic. Rosa Parks was arrested. Martin Luther King Jr. faced constant opposition, yet they stood firm, not because they were immune to fear, but because they believed in something greater than the need for approval. Brené Brown, a researcher and storyteller, describes vulnerability as the birthplace of courage. She says, "Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. When you live authentically, you're choosing to show up as your true self, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. And in doing so, you open the door to a deeper, more meaningful life." Now let's talk about boundaries. One of the reasons we struggle with others' opinions is because we allow their voices to invade our mental and emotional space. Setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about creating space for yourself. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and attention are valuable and protecting them from unnecessary negativity or criticism. Start by identifying the people or situations in your life that drain you the most. Maybe it's a friend who constantly criticizes your choices, or a family member who imposes their expectations on you. Once you've identified these sources of stress, ask yourself, what can I do to protect my peace? This might mean limiting your interactions with certain individuals, politely but firmly standing up for yourself, or simply choosing not to engage in conversations that don't serve you. It's also crucial to cultivate a strong sense of self-worth. When you know your own value, you're less likely to rely on external validation. Take time to reflect on your strengths, your achievements, and the qualities that make you unique. Celebrate your victories, no matter how small, and remind yourself that you are enough, just as you are. Here's a simple yet powerful affirmation you can use daily. I am worthy of love and respect, not because of what I do or how others see me, but because of who I am. Repeating this affirmation can help rewire your mindset and build a foundation of self-confidence that is independent of others' opinions. Now let's address the elephant in the room: social media. While it can be a wonderful tool for connection and self-expression, it can also amplify the pressure to seek approval. The endless cycle of likes, comments, and comparisons can leave you feeling inadequate and disconnected from your true self. If you find that social media is affecting your mental health, consider setting boundaries around your usage. This might mean unfollowing accounts that trigger negative feelings, taking breaks from the platform, or even reevaluating why you're using social media in the first place. Ask yourself, am I sharing this post because it's meaningful to me, or because I want others to approve of it? As we navigate this journey, remember that letting go of others' opinions is not about becoming indifferent or isolated. It's about reclaiming your power and living a life that aligns with your values, passions, and dreams. It's about recognizing that you are the author of your own story and no one else has the right to write it for you. Take a moment to reflect. What steps can you take today to start living for yourself? What boundaries can you set? What thoughts can you challenge? And what fears can you confront? This is your life, your one precious, irreplaceable life, and you deserve to live it on your own terms. In the next part, we'll delve into the deeper psychological patterns that keep us trapped in the cycle of seeking approval and explore transformative strategies to break free. Let's go even deeper into this journey. In this part, we'll uncover the psychological roots of our need for validation and discuss how you can dismantle those patterns to reclaim control over your life. If you've ever felt trapped by the weight of expectations or struggled with the fear of disapproval, this is where we begin to unravel those feelings and replace them with something far more powerful: self-acceptance and inner peace. Think back to your childhood. As children, our sense of self is fragile and malleable. We learn to see ourselves through the eyes of others, our parents, teachers, friends, and even strangers. Praise feels like love, and criticism feels like rejection. Over time, we internalize these experiences, and they shape how we view ourselves and the world. This is why the fear of judgment feels so intense. It's tied to a primal need for survival. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by the group could mean death, as humans depended on their tribes for safety and resources. While society has evolved, that deep-seated fear remains within us, triggering feelings of anxiety and self-doubt whenever we perceive disapproval. But here's the good news. Just as these patterns are learned, they can also be unlearned. It starts with understanding that the opinions of others are not a reflection of your worth. They are simply interpretations, shaped by the other person's experiences, beliefs, and biases. In other words, what someone thinks of you says more about them than it does about you. Let me share a powerful metaphor. Imagine you're holding a mirror. When someone criticizes you, they're not seeing you as you are. They're projecting their own insecurities, fears, and expectations onto that mirror. The reflection they see is distorted, colored by their personal lens. Once you realize this, their opinions lose their power over you. To solidify this understanding, practice what psychologists call cognitive reframing. When you catch yourself worrying about someone's judgment, pause and ask, what might this person's opinion reveal about them, rather than about me? For example, if someone dismisses your dreams as unrealistic, it might reflect their own fear of failure or their experiences with unmet goals. Reframing the situation helps you see their criticism as a projection, not a truth. Another key practice is building emotional resilience. Resilience doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing your feelings. It means developing the ability to face criticism or rejection without letting it derail you. A practical way to build resilience is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, creating a space between stimulus and response. Here's an exercise you can try. The next time someone's words sting, take a deep breath and label your feelings. Say to yourself, "I feel hurt," or "I feel embarrassed." Naming your emotions helps you acknowledge them without letting them control you. Then, remind yourself that this moment is temporary and does not define your worth. The great Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "The highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment." By practicing self-awareness and self-compassion, you can begin to untangle yourself from the web of others' opinions. But how do you replace this deep-rooted need for validation with something healthier? The answer lies in developing self-validation. Self-validation means recognizing and accepting your feelings, experiences, and choices without relying on external approval. Start small. Each day, take a few moments to reflect on your actions and decisions. Instead of asking, "What do others think about this?" ask, "How do I feel about this? Does it align with my values and goals?" Over time, this practice will strengthen your ability to trust yourself, making you less dependent on external validation. Now, let's address a common fear: the fear of conflict. Many people avoid living authentically because they're afraid it will create tension or push others away. But here's the paradox. When you compromise yourself to keep the peace, you often end up resenting both the situation and the people involved. True harmony comes not from avoiding conflict, but from navigating it with honesty and respect. Consider this. When you set boundaries or express your true self, you give others the opportunity to know and respect the real you. Yes, some people might resist or disagree, but those who genuinely care about you will appreciate your honesty. And those who don't. Their departure from your life is not a loss. It's a clearing of space for relationships that nurture and support you. A useful tool for handling conflict is assertive communication. Assertiveness is not about being aggressive or confrontational. It's about expressing your needs and boundaries calmly and confidently. For example, instead of saying, "You never support me," try, "I feel unsupported when you dismiss my goals. I'd appreciate it if we could have a more open conversation about this." By focusing on your feelings rather than placing blame, you invite dialogue rather than defensiveness. Let me ask you this. How much time and energy have you spent worrying about things that never happened? How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid of what others might think? Regret is a heavy burden, and often it stems not from the risks we took, but from the risks we avoided. One of the most liberating realizations is this: most people are far too consumed with their own lives to spend much time thinking about yours. Their judgments are fleeting, their opinions often forgotten as quickly as they are formed. Meanwhile, you carry those judgments with you, replaying them in your mind, giving them a weight they were never meant to have. The truth is, you will never please everyone, and that's okay. Life is not about universal approval. It's about living in alignment with your values, passions, and purpose. The more you embrace this, the more you'll attract people and opportunities that resonate with your true self. As we approach the next part of this journey, I want you to reflect on one final question. What would you do differently if you weren't afraid of judgment? Hold on to that thought, because in the next section, we'll explore how to transform fear into fuel and take actionable steps toward living a life that is unapologetically yours. We've arrived at the final stretch of this journey. This is where everything we've explored so far converges. It's time to transform understanding into action, to take the insights you've gained and channel them into a life where you are no longer a prisoner of other people's opinions. This is where you reclaim your freedom. Think about this. Fear of judgment is one of the most persistent barriers to personal growth, yet it's also one of the most unnecessary. The reality is that no one else is living your life. No one else is facing your challenges, carrying your burdens, or dreaming your dreams. So why let their opinions dictate your choices? Fear often whispers, "What if they don't like me? What if they laugh? What if I fail?" But let me ask you this. What if they do like you? What if you succeed beyond your wildest dreams? What if the risks you take today lead to a future you can't even imagine yet? Fear is a double-edged sword. On one side, it can paralyze you, but on the other, it can propel you forward. The key is learning to use fear as fuel. Instead of letting it stop you, let it sharpen your focus and strengthen your resolve. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. Let's talk about a critical mindset shift, moving from external control to internal control. External control means you allow your emotions, actions, and decisions to be influenced by things outside of you, other people's opinions, societal expectations, or circumstances beyond your control. Internal control, on the other hand, is about taking ownership of your life. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. This shift begins with self-awareness. Start by identifying the areas in your life where you feel most influenced by others. Maybe it's your career, your relationships, or even how you present yourself to the world. Ask yourself, am I making this choice because it's what I truly want, or because it's what others expect of me? The next step is to align your actions with your values. What matters most to you? What kind of person do you want to be? When your actions align with your values, you'll find a sense of clarity and purpose that no amount of external validation can provide. Take inspiration from Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist who wrote the groundbreaking book Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl argued that even in the most dire circumstances, we have the freedom to choose our attitude and find meaning in our experiences. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." This is the essence of internal control, recognizing that while you can't control what others think or do, you can control how you respond, and in that response lies your power. But how do you put this into practice? It starts with small, consistent actions. First, give yourself permission to fail. Perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it will only hold you back. Instead of fearing failure, embrace it as a natural part of growth. Each mistake is a lesson, each setback an opportunity to learn and improve. Second, start saying no. This can be one of the most challenging but liberating steps. When you say no to things that don't align with your values, you're saying yes to yourself. Whether it's declining a social invitation that doesn't feel right, or stepping away from a toxic relationship, every no is a step toward living authentically. Third, practice gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. It helps you see the beauty in your journey and the progress you've made. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for, whether it's the support of a loved one, a personal achievement, or simply the fact that you're alive and capable of change. Finally, surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. Jim Rohn, a motivational speaker, famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Choose your circle wisely. Seek out relationships that encourage growth, challenge your perspective, and celebrate your authenticity. Now, let's return to the promise we made at the beginning of this journey, to reveal the most powerful truth of all. Are you ready? Here it is. The opinions of others will only control you if you let them. This might sound simple, but its implications are profound. You hold the power. You get to decide whether to carry the weight of others' expectations or to let it go. You get to choose whether to live in fear of judgment or to step into the freedom of authenticity. It's not an easy path. There will be moments of doubt, moments when the voices of others feel louder than your own. But remember, growth comes from challenge. Every step you take toward living authentically is a step toward a life of greater fulfillment, joy, and purpose. So now, I'll leave you with one final question. What will you choose? Will you choose to remain confined by the opinions of others, or will you choose to step into the freedom of living for yourself? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your life is waiting. Thanks for looking.